So my name is Lisa. I do run Lisa Sanctuary, which I created on the back of leaving my second relationship of domestic violence, because I wanted to create a platform that not only shared my story for a therapeutic, part of my therapeutic journey, but also to show other women that they weren't alone. And I was asked many times why I didn't just leave. And, some of it's with judgment, but a lot of it was just people not understanding. Like, how can you stay in situations, where you're being harmed? And so that was back in 2017, and I wrote my book, Why I Stayed, to answer that question. But so we'll run through some healing stuff. I am many years out of both of those relationships now, and there are definitely things along the way that helped me. I remember desperately typing into Google, how do I heal? I didn't know where to start. It was very overwhelming. I just knew that I didn't want to feel the way that I felt. And so today we'll do some actual activities, some actual healing activities. I'll talk through some of the facets of trauma and triggers. So I want you to look after yourself along here. If you need to step away from wherever you are from the screen, if you need to step away, if you need to just leave, that is fine. You absolutely have permission to look after yourself. You are the priority. So absolutely, I will not be offended by anything. You do what's best for you. Today I'll go through just some of the stuff not details of what I've lived with. We don't want to rehash all of that. And if you follow my page on Lisa Sanctuary, you'll see a lot of that stuff too. Healing is possible. I very much felt like I was never ever going to feel any better from where I was, but it does require work. And I don't want that to feel like it's hard work. It is challenging. I mean, it's not easy, but it is possible. And so I have a bit of a healing model, I should say. When I look back over how I did it and what I had put in place, my healing model looks like having safety in place, having support, and focusing on self-care. And so safety is both physical and emotional safety. So safety where you live, where you work, where, who you surround yourself with. Do you feel physically safe in your home? Because that's not always the case for us. Do you feel emotionally safe with the people around you? Do you feel safe to express an opinion, to ask somebody questions about, why they're saying, things to you? Or do you have the freedom and the space to be able to challenge someone, and not in a negative or an aggressive tone, but do you have the space and the place to be able to use your voice? Because oftentimes we lose our voices in it, and women particularly, we kind of get taught along the way to suppress our own needs and our own feelings for the happiness of those around us. It generally starts from childhood. So I am a huge fan of inner child work and reparenting, that little person inside of us who didn't have the brain capacity and the understanding that your adult self does. So trauma and triggers. Most of us, if not all of us, have some sort of trauma. And it's not about whether it's I know that they talk about big T trauma or little t trauma. Trauma is trauma. There's no competition with it. You can experience the same situation as someone else, and it may not affect you the way that it affects them, and vice versa. But what you experienced is valid for you. And so there's no competition with it. Nobody has it better or worse. And a lot of the times the trauma it's not the actual event that happens. It's not that traumatic event. It's the feelings that get left inside or what stays stuck. And generally that happens because you didn't have safety, support, control, and or choice in a situation. It's when your body and your mind become so overwhelmed with what you are experiencing that it leaves a lasting impact. It leaves a wound on your soul, that internal wound. And if you don't have resolution to that, or you didn't feel supported, or you put another meaning towards it, that remains in our bodies. And then when we are triggered, we end up with all sorts of heightened anxiety, stress, because your body remembers the time when it didn't have safety, support, control, and or choice in the situation, and it actually feels like it's back there, that it needs to protect you, and that's where we go into survival mode. And so it's a really, really important to recognize when you are in survival mode. Unfortunately, a lot of us live in survival mode for most of the day. I know Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about the average person will live 75% of their day in some sort of survival mode. Now, survival mode is that, usually you're feeling it in your chest, in your gut, maybe in your throat. You're on edge, you're stressed, you're anxious, you're overwhelmed. You're just feeling like you can't really cope, or you're not dealing, your brain literally goes offline. So that's why when we go into survival mode, our responses generally fall into fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. What happens is your brain will determine which one of those four will keep you the safest. It makes an assessment in literally like milliseconds based on what you know, what you can see, what your brain's taking in, and it will determine the best way that you can respond in order to survive. Your brain's job is to keep you alive. And so fight is when you may become really angry, and you may make your body bigger, and the tone will change, and you may get aggressive, you may physically lash out. It is referred to as reactive abuse. I don't like the term reactive abuse because it's a protection. It's a self-defense. So a lot of people, if they do physically lash out, they feel like they're just as bad as the abuser or the perpetrator or the offender or whoever's making you feel unsafe. But it is your body and your brain's response to keep you safe. Flight is if you just want to run away. I used to just get in the car, put all the kids in the car, and we'd just go for a drive. And that's like flight. And you'll see it with kids in classrooms too. When they leave the classroom, that's their flight response. It's because they feel unsafe. Freeze is when your body just shuts down. Generally, it's when we go back to, I say caveman days, but freeze was playing dead because you didn't want anyone to know you were there. You were trying to hide. You're trying to make yourself feel small. That's what freeze is. Fawn it's kind of a newer one. It used to just be about fight, flight, freeze. But fawn is when we are trying to placate the person who we feel unsafe with. We're trying to, we say sorry, we apologize profusely, we take that blame, we take that responsibility. We're trying to please them and appease them. Could be a parent, it could be, whoever it is. And that's what fawn is. It is using whatever you know from the person, from the situation, from the event, to keep yourself safe. And so it is necessary because there are situations where we do need to be in, a healthy amount of stress. Unfortunately, our bodies, because of everything that goes on around us and how the world is today, we can enter survival mode in a traffic jam. If we're late, if we're getting a phone call from someone that we know might not be a good conversation, or someone we don't like or don't want to talk to. So we end up in survival mode over lots of different reasons that aren't necessarily going to cause a huge impact to us. Oh, sorry, I'll just let Amanda in. So hey, we're just talking about survival mode at the moment. Trauma responses, the fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. And then how our bodies and brains make that determination to keep us safe. A lot of the times we do go into like catastrophizing, worst case scenario, because anything better than death is a win. Anything that doesn't involve you dying is surviving. And that's also why we feel so strongly about abandonment and rejection, because back in much earlier days, being banished from the tribe or being outcast or, being kicked out meant certain death. You could not survive without your people, without your tribe, without your community. And so that's why rejection feels so strong. We're not going to die if we're rejected, but our bodies remember, passed down through genetics, through, our DNA, and passed down from beliefs that you grew up with that you may not even remember, that's still ingrained into your subconscious, creates those foundational beliefs. So you will do whatever you need to do to survive. And so that's around the safety. I'm going to teach you that when you go into survival mode, obviously, if you are in a situation where you do need to react in some way because you are legitimately and genuinely unsafe, it's a threatening situation. What happens though is when we go into survival mode, and I go up here because we kind of have this baseline of where it's homeostasis, it's baseline, it's, that calm, that normal. If we go above baseline, that's our fight flight. When we go below baseline, that's our freeze. And so if it's not resolved, that's what leaves the trauma. So what you will see in the animal world is a deer will be just chilling, just munching on some grass. And then if a predator comes and chases the deer and the deer gets away, what will happen is the deer will get away and they actually shake their bodies almost to release that trauma, and then the event's done. They don't keep thinking about, remember that time that lion nearly got me? That's what creates the trauma, is when there's no resolution in the traumatic event that's happened. And resolution could look like you had an adult there supporting you to say, it's okay, I've got you, it's all good, I believe you. It could look like your body doesn't realize there's an end to that traumatic event. So that's why also flashbacks can be so upsetting, because your body doesn't realize there's an end to it. The event was over, but it still remembers how unsafe you felt. So around that safety, like I said, creating physical and emotional safety is literally the foundation of healing. You will find it really challenging to heal when your body is constantly in survival mode. And this world around us really does have us in survival mode a lot of the time. But when we go into survival, like I said, you'll generally feel it chest, gut, throat, or it'll just be a whole body experience. And so I have a sequence that I teach. When we have the voice in our head that, is our inner critic and says all those negative thoughts to us, if you are right hand dominant, the quickest, fastest, easiest way to stop that voice, to shut that voice down, is to look diagonally down to your left. It just takes you out of the part of your brain that is constantly overthinking, ruminating, and really trying to assess the situation, and it drops you into a feeling state. And so that will, obviously I'm this way, but diagonally looking down to your left will shut that inner voice down. And then what you can do is pick a spot in front of you, and without moving your head or your eyes, you just start to look out to your peripheral vision and just breathe. And this is something that you can do even when you're in a room full of people, even if you are not comfortable. Nobody really knows you're doing it. It's almost like zoning out a little bit. And you may automatically do that because our bodies do know how to resolve that or to bring us back to baseline. It's our thoughts that keep it going with how unsafe we felt and what if this had happened? What if I hadn't made it out? What if I'd done this? That's what keeps that trauma sort of present. So, like I said, focusing on a spot in front and just looking out to the peripheral will just calm you down. And this is about resetting your nervous system, because when you are in survival, your nervous system just goes haywire and your thinking brain, your rational brain goes offline. I love this one. I call this a baby sigh. And I love it because if you watch babies when they get hysterical, they're hungry, they're in pain, whatever's going on for them, you may have noticed that when they come to sort of the end of, a hysterical or a big cry, or they will do this sigh movement, and it's a 2 quick breaths in, generally through your nose, and then a sigh out. So it's, and if you've ever seen a baby do that, that is how they reset their nervous systems. And the reason I love that so much is because, of course, babies come onto this earth just automatically and instinctively knowing how to reset their own nervous systems when they get really heightened, when they're stressed, when they're in pain, when they're hungry and crying and hysterical. So the baby sigh. And the things I love about this is nobody even needs to know that you're doing it, that you're resetting your nervous system. The next one is to smile. And if you cannot genuinely smile or force a smile, you can actually put a pen in your mouth as well, and it mimics the same muscles in your face if you were smiling. And the reason that works is because your body knows that if you're smiling, you must be okay, you're safe. And you can force that smile and your body will still have the same response, because you wouldn't be smiling if you were actually in danger, if you were actually in an unsafe situation. And like I said, if you are in a legitimately unsafe situation, then this is not the time we're going to reset our nervous system. We're going to use those fight, flight, freeze responses in order to stay alive. So looking diagonally down to the left, that spot in front of you, and going out to your peripheral vision. Yeah, absolutely. I think I've got a video on it too, so I will find, if anybody wants to send me a message, an email, or a message on through my Facebook page, I can send you the link to that video too. Look diagonally down to the left, the spot in front of you, peripheral vision, the baby sigh, the smile, where's my pen? Either a genuine smile, which, look, if you're in survival mode and you're anxious and stressed, you're not really going to want to smile, but you can do that. And because it mimics that, it just shows your body that you're safe. Then after that, moving your body. And it can literally just be like a shake like this, or shake your hands out. And what it does is processing that nervous, physical energy out of your body. And that's exactly what you see the deer do when they're chased by the lion and they get to safety. Whatever has happened to get them to they haven't been eaten or whatever. The deer, any animal, will shake themselves and then it's done. And that is resolving the trauma, that is closing it off, and then they can move on. And so we also, as humans, we need to close off that event or close off that feeling with a resolution of moving your body. So any type of walking, running, jumping, putting on music, dancing around, that will also shift, like physically shift the energy through your body and do the trauma, move the trauma that remains. Tapping. So this is referred to, it's EFT, emotional freedom technique, I think it is. It can be a little bit complicated because when they teach it, it's it starts up here and then it comes to, I think, the eyebrows, and it's under here, and then and it can look, if you're in such a state, you're not going to remember the sequence, then you're probably going to stress yourself out more by thinking, oh my God, I've forgotten which way I've got to go. So I teach a midline tapping technique. And what that is, simply down the midline. So when you're feeling any sort of emotion, it could be anxiety, stress, nervousness, fear, sadness, if you've got a craving for something and you're trying to avoid that, and you can do it now. First you think about, like, how strong does this feeling feel? And it's going to be like an 8, a 9, possibly even a 10 if you're really all tense. I know I hold mine in my jaw and in my shoulders, and I can feel myself tense like this. So you'll go, okay, I'm feeling like it's an 8. And then we just tap on the top of the head just a couple of times. Then tap to the forehead. And then tap underneath the nose. And then to the chin, and then to the chest, and then just take a breath in and let it out. And then you can reassess with, okay, where is it now? It might have dropped to a 6 or a 5. Go again. So going through the midline tapping technique, and then that might drop down to a 2 or a 3. Go again. Go again until you get down to 0. It gives you that space to just come back to baseline, to take a breath. Your breath is so important with resetting your nervous system too, because if you are breathing normally, your body feels safe. It's when we're in that anxiety, that hypervigilance, that alertness, that, fear, that we're shutting everything off. Your body will shut off anything that's not essential to survive, which is digestive system, which is immune system function. It's your breathing. It's reproductive stuff. And that's why people who sit in survival mode for most of their day, or, for an extended period of time, that's why you'll find that you end up with gut issues. Generally, you could be diagnosed with an autoimmune condition. Fun fact, actually, it's not a fun fact, it's just a statistic, that 80% of autoimmune disorder diagnoses are women. 80%. Because as women, we're often conditioned to suppress our own needs and wants. We are conditioned to be the caretakers, the nurturers. We're responsible. We carry a higher mental load. And so that affects gut. It affects your reproductive system as well. So that could tie into endometriosis, irregular periods, things like that too, that we don't always, not always, that we don't correlate with the stress and the survival mode and the trauma that we sit in, but it affects everything that is not essential to surviving in that moment. And so we've done, so that's how to reset your nervous system. There are absolutely other techniques, so use what works for you. There are no right and wrong answers with healing. It is what works for you, and play around with them. Cold therapy is another one. You can get an ice pack and hold it to your chest. That will help. You can splash cold water on your face or run it over your hands on your wrists. Jump in a cold shower. That will reset your nervous system. There's a technique called havening, which is doing this. I hope you can see that properly. It's just rubbing your arms, just lightly, gently, and just breathing as you do. Or you can even just tap here. So anything to reset your nervous system, and you can do it throughout the day, because sometimes we don't even know we're sitting in that stress mode. Like I said, I hold tension in my shoulders and jaw when I'm getting stressed, and I have to consciously, okay, take a breath, soften my jaw, relax the shoulders. And sometimes it's not even that anything's happened. It's just that our bodies go into it because of the fast-paced, chaotic world that we live in. That's how to reset your nervous system. That brings about emotional safety. After that, it's about getting curious about, okay, what was it that triggered me? What was it about that? Absolutely, if it's a genuine, I was at threat, I was in danger, I was unsafe, then that's a separate thing. But generally, we look at, what was I scared of? What was I embarrassed by? What did I expect, or what did I need? And it generally fall into one of those 4 categories. So what am I scared? What was I scared of? And it could be somebody said something that wasn't intended to be scary, but your body remembers a time when it was sort of similar, or the tone of voice they used, or a look, or something like that. Did you get embarrassed by something? Did you feel rejected, abandoned? Because that creates a stress and a trauma inside us as well. Because like I said, back in, many, many years ago, it meant certain death to be banished from your tribe. You couldn't survive on your own. And that, just on a slight tangent, that is why community and support is so essential, because humans were not supposed to do this on our own. And we are fed so much about just struggle through, soldier on, do it by yourself, don't ask for help. I mean, hyper independence over here, guilty, absolutely. But humans need other humans. We need those support networks. So what did I get embarrassed by? What did I expect? Sometimes, a lot of the time, we already have an expectation of how we want that person to receive what we've said, or what we want them to do for us, or how we want them to support us. That's okay. But we also need to realize how much of it is my responsibility around it's a me thing, and how do I move through that? Or if it is a genuinely unsafe situation, that's a separate pathway. And what do I need now? Do I need to remind myself that I am okay, I am safe, I am enough, I did deserve that? The good things, of course, not the bad things. Am I valuable enough? Am I worthy of that? Because we often grow up with those beliefs as well. Safety, we went through. The next stage of my model of healing is around support, just what I said. We need to create those personal and professional support networks. Everybody has trauma. Everybody could benefit from doing some sort of healing. There are lots of research, and there's lots more research now about talk therapy, as in counseling, psychology, where when you're just talking about the same things over and over, it just sort of rehashes it and you just sit with it. Whereas the way to heal it through is to actually process it through the body. It's using that somatic, that feeling into it. It is a bit of a cliche, but you really do have to feel it to heal it. And a lot of us will hold back tears, will hold back anger, and because we think that that's really painful. But the pain is in suppressing it. It's in resisting it. It's in trying to numb it with substances or exercise or jumping from relationship to relationship. Whatever we need to feel, whatever fills that void, whether it's healthy or unhealthy, we will look for those things to just to fill our void, whereas we need to internalize that and do it for ourselves. But we absolutely need the support, and that can be around, look, it's as we get older, it can be really hard to make friends. It's about finding your people. If you do not feel like you are connected or you belong somewhere, then they aren't your people, and that's okay. But find your people in a personal space, also a professional space. So do you have access to a counselor, a caseworker, Do you have access to any other, sort of, I see a massage therapist once a month. I try to, because that's what helps, because I hold so much tension in my physical body as well. I use that. What is your professional support network around helping you to budget, helping you with referrals, helping you with whatever is going on in your life that you need support with? There is no shame in asking for support. Like I said, humans need other humans, and it has been the biggest downfall of ours to convince everybody that they should not ask for help, or they're weak if they ask for help, or that they should do it themselves. It's not weak. It's absolutely human that we need each other. So a couple of the ways that I met some of my, closest friends now were online, through my children, going to school and meeting other parents, through them playing sport, finding activities that I enjoyed. And it doesn't have to be that you see these people all the time, but just, take a breath and ask somebody if they want to catch up for a coffee, or, have lunch or something. I mean, that's scary. That can also invoke a trauma response as well, and make us feel overwhelmed and stressed. But humans do need other humans. And if you don't have those people around you, see where you can find them. It is really important to have that support. Self-care is that other one of my model of healing, because you are the most important person. And I like to say, look after yourself like your life depends on it. And it is tough when you're a parent and you have other people that you are literally responsible for, and that you are responsible for their survival. So I know it's really hard to look after yourself. I've been there, done that. My baby is 18, so I absolutely have been through that, where I just didn't feel like I had any time, and I was in a level of busyness that was necessary, because I had 5 children who I needed to get out of bed for, and I needed to feed, and I needed to go to work to pay bills. And so around the self-care is, there's 6 things that are really important: is keeping yourself hydrated, eating as well as you can, rest and sleep. And I know that's a hard one, because rest has been particularly tough for me, because if I'm doing nothing, I feel really guilty that I should be doing something, or that there's always something else to do. And so I've had to work really hard on not feeling guilty when I'm resting, because your body needs it. Your body absolutely needs the rest, and not you resting and talking, in your head about, oh, we should be doing this, we should be doing that. There's so much more to do. I'm going to have double to do tomorrow. Look diagonally down to your left and get that critic to just pipe down for a little bit, because it is necessary to healing. Sun, nature, fresh air. So those 6 things, so good nutrition, water, keeping yourself hydrated, what did I say? Sun, fresh air, getting out in nature, and that rest and sleep. Sleep is a tricky one, because our body heals overnight. It repairs itself when you're asleep, when you go into that deep quality sleep. The paradox is, when you have experienced trauma, you don't always feel safe to go to sleep and to stay asleep. So I know that one's really tricky, and that comes back to safety. Create those safe spaces in your home. Lock all your windows and doors. Do you have an alarm? Do you have cameras? And we need to be really careful that we don't dip into the becoming obsessive, which I have done before, with checking all the windows and doors are locked, and looking outside and peering outside in the dark, and and all those things. But I used to sleep with my phone in my hand. I used to carry my phone to the washing line after I left my ex-husband, because I was just so scared that he would come, to my home and something would happen. I was so scared. And so create that safety. Lock your bedroom door if you can. Create safety that works for you, because sleep is important. It's essential. But we often feel unsafe to go to sleep and to stay asleep. or your head starts ruminating and it just goes over and over and over. Guilty of that one as well. Which I guess leads me to say that I don't believe that we ever fully heal. It's not about being healed. It's about the healing journey and just becoming more aware of what our triggers are, what our traumas are, what we need to heal, what plays over and over in your head that you can address and resolve and be able to move through. Because I mean, we still need to move through life, right? We still have day-to-day responsibilities. We're still adults. We still have to do that. I mean, we all wanted to grow up so fast, and then I've gotten here and been a bit like, okay, it's not what I was expecting. Healing is a forever journey. And healing doesn't mean that you'll feel at peace and happy all the time. We need the ebb and flow. We need the up and down. And it sounds a little bit, a little bit weird as well, but unless you've felt that down, then you can't appreciate the happiness and the peace and the freedom and how you feel that way if you haven't experienced. I think they say as well, how can you can't appreciate real love unless you've experienced heartbreak. You can't appreciate safety unless you've experienced feeling unsafe. And so we do need this. We're not happy all the time. I am much further along my healing journey than I was, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 12 months ago, even 6 months ago. It's a forever journey. It's just a pathway, but it's just about being able to get curious about what am I feeling? What was I worried about? What's in my body? What's affecting me? What's impacting me? And what is in my control to change or to move away from or to do differently? So I still have really down times, but what I find now is that my rock bottom is never as low as what it used to be. So whereas 10 years ago, my rock bottom was like, I did not want to get out of bed. Whereas now I don't want to say rock bottom, that sounds really dramatic, but my lows now are still up here. They're a low, but they sort of here, and I don't sit in it for as long as what I used to. I don't sit in it for as intensely as I used to. I can get curious about what is it that I'm feeling and what is it that I'm feeling and where am I feeling it? And then what am I going to do to either reset my nervous system or talk myself through it or give myself that love and self-care? Around healing trauma, I would absolutely recommend a somatic kind of healing modality. They sort of refer to them as alternative healing modalities. Hypnotherapy, which I'm qualified in. I did get qualified because hypnotherapy helped me so much that I thought I have to do this with other people. EMDR, which is, if I can think of it, eye movement desensitization. It's about processing that trauma that's stuck in, I'll get a bit technical here, in the amygdala, through the hippocampus, but it is about processing those images, those traumatic events, breath work, even yoga, something Tai Chi, something that incorporates your body, internal family systems. I do a lot of parts therapy because the premise is that we're all made up of our personality is made up of different parts which serve us for particular times. So there is a part of me that does better at work. There is a part of me that, is the mum. There is a part of me that is the partner. And so we look to those parts to fulfill the role that they need to and that are best suited for that role. We have that higher self that you can tap into as well. Asking yourself for help. Being, I have this issue and, give me some guidance. And then just sit in the quiet. And that's really hard for trauma survivors because sitting still and not being busy can be really quite confronting because our minds just they roll over and over and over. Meditation is another one that is so beneficial for your body, but for somebody who has experienced trauma, it can be really confronting to just sit with yourself, especially if you learn to suppress your needs and your own feelings. Sometimes it can be really difficult to even know what you're feeling and to know that, where it is in your body. So that's about reconnecting your body. What am I feeling? Where am I feeling it? I actually did a session and that brings me back to, it is really important with your professional network, that you do some of this work with another person. And you can there are free counseling services available through maybe a local women's health center. A surgeon can't perform his own surgery or her own surgery. I shouldn't have said his, actually. A surgeon cannot perform her own surgery. And so I also see a counselor. I have done hypnotherapy with other people and with other, obviously, hypnotherapists. What was really interesting for me during one particular session was I had a feeling coming up, and the hypnotherapist had said to me, "What are you feeling?" And I said, "Oh, I feel angry." And he had said something about, "Okay, feel into that." And without even thinking, I said, "Good girls don't get angry." And I went, whoa, that was huge for me. So anger is a normal human emotion. You're allowed to feel anger. It's how you process it. It's how you express or move the anger in a healthy way, and not harm another person like some of us have been through. And so what am I feeling? Where am I feeling it? And locate it in your body to really connect back with your body. Looking after yourself, processing that trauma, creating that safety, creating your support networks. And I have done some inner child work with some of you as well. And that's about, just sitting quietly and sort of going back to your childhood home and seeing that child version of yourself and giving them a hug or telling them what she needed to hear. I love you. You're a great kid. You are so worthy. You do not need to change a hair on your head to be deserving and valuable in this world. There's a saying that says, justify your existence. And I used to say that. And I've now come to the point where I don't need to justify my existence. I just want to be a good person. And I just want to do good out there for my family and for my world and, for my community. And we don't need to do or be or have something in order to be significant or be allowed to exist here. And that's often why I say you are significant because you are, and I love you because you exist, because you are deserving of love just because you're here, not because you need to be any different or any better or have anything else. It's just because you are. Okay, so I think I've run through some of that. Healing is possible. You don't have to do it alone. I do have an online program and some one-on-one sessions, and they are paid. And it's not about selling that. It's just, if you have trauma from childhood or from adulthood, or whatever that you need to work through, I would recommend working through it with someone who can do it either with an online thing or in person. You can get a mental health care plan from your GP and go and see a psychologist. Local women's health centers often have free sort of counseling. Maybe there's somebody who's studying counseling. I'm sure you could find something, through a Facebook group or something. And if they're studying counseling, they need to get a certain number of hours in order to get that accreditation. So using something like that, think outside the box. It's just whatever works for you. There are a lot of things on YouTube as well. The way I got into hypnotherapy was I actually came across, her name's Marissa Peer, and she does age regression with hypnotherapy. And I just listened to one of her talks on stage that were recorded, and I got so much out of it that I just went, whoa, I need to do more of this. I did some more free YouTube hypnotherapy stuff online, just listening to my phone, using a guided meditation or a hypnosis to go to sleep. And then when it became, when it helped me so much, then I enrolled to study and to become qualified in it. But there are a lot of free resources online. Okay, so we've done some stuff with, submodality shift. I do want to teach this one. So when I said before, what am I feeling? Where am I feeling it? Let's say you've got a knot in your stomach. What I do is, what am I feeling? Or I'm feeling anxious, I'm feeling overwhelmed, I'm feeling on edge. Where am I feeling it? It's in my belly. And then I will go to, what color is it? How big is it? What's the texture? And then change that. So what's a better color to sort of put through? What's a stronger, healing, nurturing color for you? Change the color of it. Change the shape of it. Shrink it. And like I said before, it's all about whatever works for you. I've had people scoop out, like literally with a shovel, scoop out the muck and get rid of it, or let it drain through their bodies and come out their feet into the ground, like into a drain. You can infiltrate like a different energy, a different color, a different texture into your body. And then just imagine that it's just this healing, beautiful color. I love purple. Will just expand and cover your whole energy like a bubble, and put yourself in a bubble or a shield. Whatever works for you is right. Your body, you intuitively know. Trust that intuition, because you are your own expert on how to move through this, what works for you, what makes sense for you, and how it works. Let's also do, so I've got another, and this is what I mean by somatic, like the body healing. It's feeling into it. It's not just talking about what happened over and over and over and it getting stuck. It's actually like using your body and your feelings and your energy. And so I've got one more, little exercise that we'll do. So I'll just recap over. My model of healing is safety. Create that safety. You deserve safety. It's your right. Create that support network, whether it's professional support, personal support. Get those people around you that are going to encourage you, uplift you, that are going to be there for you. And it will take time, because humans are very guarded around, being vulnerable with other humans, because most of us have been let down before, or we've had somebody share a secret that, we thought they wouldn't, or there's been some sort of a disconnect with that. So it does take time, but just find your people. And self-care, looking after yourself like your life depends on it. And all those quotes with, you cannot pour from an empty cup. You really do need to do that rest and relaxation, recharge. I do jigsaw puzzles, and I'm still doing something, but it allows me to not continue thinking about the email I've got to send, or the phone call I've got to make, or what the kids have got at school, or what I've missed, or what I've done, or what I'm annoyed about. Just letting your body and your mind rest without feeling guilty. And that's a work in progress too. Like I said, it's forever a healing journey. We are not going to be 100% like happy, ecstatic all the time. And that's okay. That's just a part of the journey. I'll do this as well. We'll do this little activity. And then afterwards, I'll stay on for a bit if anybody wants to share anything or have a chat or whatever. If you want to just leave straight away, that's perfectly okay. I'm not bothered at all. It's whatever works for you. And so what this one is, it's about healing conflicting parts of yourself. So I do love parts therapy, where the premise is we're sort of made up of all these different parts that have protected us, or that nurture, or that care for other people, or that, fill the roles in our lives. So if you've got some sort of a concern or an issue or something you're working on at the moment, something that you're needing a little bit more support with, or something you're conflicted about, what I want you to do is just think about whatever comes up. And if there's nothing specifically that comes up, that's okay. Just follow along with it, because your subconscious mind is always listening. It's always there knowing what to do, and whatever comes up is right. And so just sort of always like to wriggle. So just sort of shuffle around, just sort of relax your jaw, relax your shoulders. Just take a deep breath in and out. And what I want you to do is just imagine that the part of you that is struggling with something, or that is stressed about something, or doesn't quite know what to do, needs the guidance, I want you to hold out your hand and imagine that part of you is sitting in your hand. And just let that part sit there, the part that's not really sure, not really confident, just needs a little bit of more advice or guidance from yourself, because you have all the answers inside. And then in your other hand, I want you to put the part of you that does understand, that does know what's happening, that can encourage, that could potentially have an answer or a compromise. And as you've got both of those parts in your hands, I just want you to bring them together, almost like they're sitting together, and they're just going to work it out. Because our conscious mind doesn't need to solve all the problems. We can let it happen internally. And just let both of those parts just sit together, and they will work out what they will compromise. They will share. They will do what they need to do. And you may feel a bit peaceful, or click into place, or something like that. And just let them do their thing. And then when you feel ready, when it feels right, just bring both of your hands to your chest, to your heart, and integrate it in, knowing that they will work it out, that they have all the answers, and that they can sort it out. And take a deep breath in, and just let it all out, trusting that you're safe and supported, and that you know what to do. And over the next few hours, days, and maybe even weeks, those two conflicting parts, they will come to a resolution. They will come to some sort of a solution, because they have the answers. And just breathe into it. And when you're ready, just come back to now and open your eyes. And take a big, strong breath in, feeling really good. Just allow those good feelings just to filter through, and just surround your energy in however it needs to. And remember that healing is possible. You don't have to do it alone, and you are absolutely worthy of healing. And you are so worthy of living a good life. One of safety, support, and self-care. You're worth it. And like I finish off with, you are significant because you are. And I love you because you exist. You don't need to be any different. You don't need to change a hair on your head. And just continue putting one foot in front of the other, and continuing along your day.